Ever since the release of the Canon M6 Mark II, we've heard that the 4K video image coming out of that camera is a fake 4K image. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. When Canon released the Canon M6 Mark II in September of 2019, it was one of the best value for the money APS-C cameras from Canon. Having uncropped 4K in an APS-C camera was not a feature you normally would see in a camera from Canon at that time. And having 4K with Canon's dual pixel autofocus was unheard of before the release of the Canon M6 Mark II. But 4K isn't always 4K. What is a 4K image or 4K resolution? Resolution is just the pixel dimension on the sensor. How many pixels across and how many pixels high. The standard 4K video image is 3840 pixels across and 2160 pixels high. It's the amount of pixels across that determines the image resolution. If you have approximately 2000 pixels across, that is a 2K image resolution. If you have approximately 4000 pixels across, that is a 4K image resolution. But if we go back to my earlier statement that the 4K coming out of the Canon M6 Mark II isn't a true 4K, what do I actually mean by that? In a hybrid photo-video camera, the sensor isn't optimized for the video aspect ratio. Normally, on a hybrid photo-video camera, the sensor has a 3:2 aspect ratio. The Canon M6 Mark II has a 32 megapixel sensor with 6960 pixels across and 4640 pixels high, which is a 3:2 aspect ratio. But for an Ultra HD video, the aspect ratio is 16:9. So to go from 6960 by 4640 down to 3840 by 2160, the camera needs to make some
camera magic.
First, you need to cut some pixels on the top and bottom. If you do that, you end up with a dimension of 6960 pixels across, like we had before, but we have gone down to 3904 pixels high. The Canon M6 Mark II does something that's called line skipping to shrink the image further down. Line skipping is basically the camera skipping lines of pixels and then processing the image back together to fit the wanted aspect ratio, in this case 3840 by 2160. If we take the original aspect ratio of the Canon M6 Mark II and we skip every other line of pixels, we basically divide the original aspect ratio by 2. Then we end up with an aspect ratio of 3480 by 1952. And this is a lower resolution than the wanted 4K of 3840 by 2160. And this is why people call the 4K image of the M6 Mark II for fake. To get a 4K image, the camera does some
camera magic
and upscale the 3480 by 1952 up to a 4K 3840 by 2160. Basically, you have a 3.5K image upscaled to 4K. This is why people claim that the 4K coming out of the M6 Mark II is fake. Canon actually reveals this in the marketing video of the M6 Mark II. It says that outputted in 4K UHD resolution through image processing. It basically fills in the missing data by guessing. The consequence is that the 4K image out of the M6 Mark II can be a little bit softer than other true 4K images. But the question is, how does the fake 4K image quality out of the M6 Mark II stand up against a real 4K image? To do a little comparison, I've shot some video samples with the Canon M6 Mark II, and I've tried to shoot the same video samples with the new Sony A7IV. which is known for its high quality 4K image. For you to see this comparison as intended, you need to watch this video on a 4K monitor, whether that's your PC or your phone. And you need to make sure that the quality settings on this YouTube video is set to 4K or 2160p. So now, take a look at this montage of clips. So, what do you think? Does the 4K image from the M6 Mark II stand up against the Sony A7IV? Now, you might say, of course there will be a difference. The Sony camera is a full-frame, 10-bit, 422 camera that shoots in S-Log, and the Canon M6 Mark II, it's only a cropped sensor 8-bit, 420 camera with no log options. And you would be right, but for this comparison I shot every clip on the Sony A7IV with the settings set at 8-bit 420 to make the comparison as fair as I could, and I shot every clip with no picture profile turned on, and that's basically like a standard or a neutral picture profile in the Sony camera. But the point of this comparison is the resolution. Even if the M6 Mark II is from 2019 and the 4K is a fake 4K, I still think it did quite well considering the camera it was up against. Just for fun, I did shoot some of the clips on the Sony camera in 10-bit 422 and in S-Log, and I also used the Sony A7S III for some of the clips. So let's take a look at that now. So what do you think? Was there any more difference now? If you have any thoughts on this, please leave them in the comment section down below. So that's it for this video. I do hope you got something out of it, and if you did, please hit that like button down below, subscribe for more content like this, and yeah, maybe I will see you in another video.